Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. And welcome back, or welcome to, more accurately, as this isn't a back. This isn't a back. Welcome to the product of my inability to document a process. This is, of course, and I say of course as if there were no other options, and there were many, but I'm still deep into the recovering from the illness granted to me by Shektoberfest, which thankfully Shektoberfest was fun because I've been sick for like, I don't know, let's just say we're well past the 72-hour mark, so I think it's just a cold, man, but it's been so long since I had a cold. So, not today, it's very early yet, but recently, within the last 48 hours, let's say, I'd like to introduce that temporality in there. I didn't feel so bad that it was like, I need to lay down, but I also didn't feel good enough to like mix concrete or move chunks of rocks around. So I just started looking at the bits and the bobs, and I do a thing, like nesting. I'll grab a bin, like my bin that I collect loose things from the bench, and I'll sort this out into all of the places that these things are supposed to go. Or I'll get a little one like this, and I'll gather all the pieces, and I'll put them where they're supposed to go. Because as I'm working, like I've said, if a screw falls and hits the ground, it's gone. I'll find them later, put them in a little servo case, and then they get distributed out. Or I take all the rod ends off of turnbuckles so that they store better in the bins, and then I can get whatever link I need or whatever, like, you know. And while I was doing that, in the midst of doing that, I was disassembling stuff. And in the midst of that disassembling stuff, something happened. It happened to be that I had everything that I needed. So this is what happens. I was in here for a number of hours, and I built Clank all the way. Not just like he runs. I've driven him on the floor to make sure that the gearbox was set up correctly and that the axles rotated in the correct directions. Because, as those who have been waiting for Clank to become a thing know, Clank is a mullet. He has an AR-44 front and an AR-45 rear, which means the axle shafts rotate in the opposite directions. He is fitted with, I think this is just a 10, is this a 10-2 skid? Is this a Vanquish skid? I don't know what that skid is. It was in my bin. Lower links are TRX4. Upper links are, I don't know. They came out of the bin. I can tell you this. There's no body mount holes because this came out of one of the Amazon chassis kits. This was like a battery tray. I couldn't get over, you know how humans recognize faces. As soon as I saw that, I was like, well, it's just staying that size. So that's the rear body mount. And then the front, I have made double plates, and this ecto bumper is attached to the body. It will be permanently attached after he's painted. He has been cut to where I think the tires will clear, running 2.2s that aren't incredibly spaced out. I anticipated him coming out wider than this. I don't know why. He is 9 3/4 inches wide for use at the just under 250 millimeter track width. And how this came to be was, once again, platinum benefactor, support of the channel, Shaker MT, hits me with an email and says, I've sent you a box of stuff. And he had said at that time, I sent you little rock beasts, which I still haven't tested because I am continually forgetting to order 155s. This is kind of a reminder to myself to order some 155s. He sent in the Baja Claw 1.7s, which I love. And he was like, oh, and by the way, there's also a whole rig in there. And it was this, but not this. This is the Victor 1 whiskey from Spare Time Hobbies with I don't know what the 3D printed pieces are. It came with it's right here. This is an Atlas cab, and I think all of the fenders in these pieces are made specifically. Wow, look how good that looks. That actually looks pretty good. Will it actually fit down on it? I mean, look at that. Oh, it's because oh, nope. Look at that. He could be double guised. Not with these tires. So it came in like this, and I just was like, I'm pulling this whole thing apart. Pulled it all apart and sat there and looked at it, having no knowledge of the V1W. In the email, he had mentioned that the rear shock tower was gone. Apparently, the 3D shock tower, the rear shock tower is 3D printed, and the shocks, there's a bed piece that's 3D printed that goes in here, and an end piece, and a little part. It's all designed to fit around that cab. So the plastics are built to accommodate that. That's like a Power Wagon, right? It's the Atlas, it's the FMS version of the Power Wagon. So the shocks are designed to run inside the rails and under the bed, so the shocks would all be hidden. I didn't know any of this. I researched the V1W chassis after I built Clank. And the V1W chassis is, and I didn't know this either, is pretty much universal. It has a lot of holes in it. You can see all the different holes. I didn't drill any holes in this chassis. And underneath the little sides, which I don't think we can see any of them, it's riddled with holes. It's just perforated with holes. Because the chassis will fit SCX-10, TRX-4, VFD. It will fit a whole bunch of stuff, which is really cool. It's cool to see a chassis that's universal, that's actually universal. Like, I just bolted this skid in. We got into problems, sure. But other than that, it came out okay. And I just looked at it right now, and I realized, do you see how far the motor is back here, and then I can fit my finger through this gap right here? There might be screw holes that would allow me to just move the whole motor forward like one step, because I don't know how this thing is going to drive. I have no idea. I know it will drive around on the floor, and I know one other thing, which is that it is quiet to an absurd level. The only noise that comes out of this vehicle when running it is the lug noise from the underdrive, brought to us by being a mullet, and lug noise. So it's lug noise from the underdrive and the gear that I have to run in here, which is an 824, the biggest overdrive you can get to try to cut this down, because AR-45 Portal is 1.9 to 1. So it's 50%. So, well, it's 45% underdrive, which is too much. So we put in big overdrive in here. And I changed the gears in here as well. We should be sitting on around 20%. The rear end sounds really draggy when I drive it on the floor. So I keep redoing the math, and then I keep redoing and redoubting all my own math. But what he does do is work. We've thrown in the 009 in there, threw that in there, figured, why not? Just grabbing parts out of bins, grabbing things, and putting it together. Built him in an afternoon, and assembling getting the links right. I built the front end first, and knowing that I wasn't going to do CMS really opened things up. Like, that allowed me a lot of freedom in link lengths. But getting the link lengths right, and then, because while the V1W is a universal chassis, I had wanted this little guy covers. Can you see them on the other side? There are mounting holes for links right up here, and I generally like to have my upper and lower links in a ratio. They're right where the motor can is, and if they're not where the motor can is, they're where the 2-speed linkage is. Like you can see it's right there. So the link is right. We'll just use this. The link end comes in right there. So as it is, I would like to run. This hole seems okay. Like this link angle in my bench judgment seems good. But the rocks will be the teller there. And I've never driven a mullet. It seems to kind of scent stink bug because the links are effectively leveled. But, like, I can't, like, if I put that down like that, it's actually sitting super low in the rear. This should hopefully be beneficial because under climbing, we won't get that collapse. We'll see. I have no idea what's going to happen. Particularly from this camera angle, it really looks like it's sitting very raked. So as I was building it, I pulled this thing out of the bag and looked at it and was like, it's like the exact same length as the chassis. So we just put the holes through it. Rear mount in the front. Front mount inverted. That's an SE mount. Inverted in the back. Ecto bumper, took the little pieces, slapped it on there. Does indeed have a 2-speed. And it's I don't know how fast it goes. It goes pretty fast. I've managed to zoot it around here on the floor. This is a fairly big building, but it's not that big. This is a Fusion 1200. But again, 5.3-inch tall tires, so it's fairly zippy. Any spacer, anything on here, I had to fabricate because everything was just coming out into lengths that I would classify as whatever. I had initially, my plan was to make a longer plate and put on a full-size servo, but then I looked at the way this linkage was all designed. And as you can see, it attaches directly to the horn. Like, it's more clever than I am. So I was like, we'll just go with it. We'll just go with it. This is so there are little tiny quick views going on all at the same time because I had to change so many pieces. A mullet build is not straightforward unless you want 40 to 50% underdrive. It's just because I want to say I changed the portal gears. I changed the ring gear, obviously. It's the noisiest gear in here. I don't know if the mic will pick it up. No? I absolutely packed that rear housing with my CV joint grease. It was clattery, and sometimes it still sounds a little clattery. I have moved and rebuilt these rear upper links like 5 times, and I'm hoping that position works. But now that I see that the gearbox could easily move forward, we have enough room on the shafts, I could easily move this gearbox forward 10 millimeters. Moving that forward 10 millimeters is going to retune this whole thing. So we're going to see how it drives like this. We're not going to futz with it. We're going to go straight from, what did I not cover? TRX4, so GTSs, and I literally took the cups, the shock cups. Can you see that lip? I took the shock cups. I took a shock body, wrapped it in tape, clamped it in a lathe, screwed the cap on, just hit it with a little lathe scraper, turn a little edge to hold the spring, and cups I already had. I think it's got some 3D printed cups on the bottom, and I think it's got alloy Dravtech cups in the front. I was throwing it together. Element SE green in the front, Element SE gray in the rear. This feels right. I don't want to get accused of having the too floppy rear end, and I think the grays are about there. We're all going to find out. We're all going to find out. All the wiring is just turbo bundled there with the caseless receiver. I'm running out of radios again, so unintentionally a one-day build. Oh man, I keep forgetting to mention it. The rear shock towers. There's a reason that we around here retain everything all the time forever. Revision 2, I left these holes here because I thought I was going to have body mounts there. And then when the body lined up, it's like those holes are like over here. That's what you get when you build something in a day. Had I known that, the shock towers would have just been flipped around 180 degrees so that the holes were over here. But then this happened. It was Tetris with an AI playing it. All the parts just fell into place on their own. The battery actually stops full up travel in the front or down travel. It can't go to full compression like that. It can go to full compression like this. That doesn't matter. So I just left it like that. It hits the inside of the hood, but it prevents the front from straight collapsing like that. It can only drop to about there. So it's got a travel limiter built into the front by putting the battery there. It doesn't need these fenders. It doesn't need these little 3D printed pieces that go in here. It doesn't need these sides. But as I was putting it all together and more pieces went on it and more pieces went on it, it just looked more complete. Do I wish that this was Element hard plastic so that all the plastics on here were gray? Yes, but it's not exactly a deal breaker. It has one of the, if not the easiest to mount bodies that we've got in the Canyon fleet. No pins, just, 4 pins technically, no clips. The body sits pretty nice. I do hate that I have to cut the hip up so high, but as you can see, that's full compression. So I don't think we're going to have as nearly as many angry Lexan noises as one would anticipate with tires this big. And these are 14s. These are 14 millimeter hubs to bring him in at 9 3/4. I think his width looks pretty good. Look at this. So you can see that under compression we're gonna get close. But I just did this on the bench. I would put him to lock. I'd go like this. Put him to lock. Would I be averse to putting longer, like 20 or 23 millimeter adapters to push it out a little? I wouldn't, because I think we might, or 18s, if I can get an 18, we might be able to clear that. I cut the body. Basically, I tried to follow the line of the fender. That's why I kind of wanted to put those fenders in there. They don't fill the body out all the way. But, I mean, I could attach material to them and fill them out the rest of the way. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. So this is, again, another Canyon build brought to us by the kindness of the Canyon crew. I was looking at it and going, man, the people of the Canyon really helped put this thing together. And then I started looking at it and I was like, well, I had to buy the axle housings and the guts for the axle housings, and I had to buy the motor and the transmission and the links and the wheels, and it's like a 50-50. This is a 50-50 Canyon build. This is a 50-50. The other 50 is the Canyon. The other 50 is the supporters of the Canyon. So this is all y'all, folks. If you send in something like this servo via Romania, the tires came from a gentleman that sent in a whole box of 22 Canyon trails, and my friend, we're going to use them all. We're going to use every single one of them. I've still got 3 sets. So I'm excited. Do I expect it to be like a strike of lightning? I genuinely have no idea. Like, it's not my geometry, so I think that's actually going to help. I think he looks beautiful. Oh, I've got it over here. We've got, see, this is the band I work out of. There's this Gozer bag. Here's all the parts, like the extra parts that I didn't use. Here's that bed, and then I had the little tail piece that went on over it, and there was a little piece that went up against the back of the cab. I didn't need those things. This was like a big bracket that went right up against the back of the cab, but somebody whittled that down a fair bit. It was built with, it had TRX4 axles and a VFD in it. Those are all getting used for something else. But these are the colors. This will be Clank's colors. He's going to be silver and gunmetal because he's Clank. So that is for later. That doesn't... We ghost ride. It's what we do. We don't not ghost ride. That would be crazy. So, he's so quiet. He has not gotten any sort of spa treatment, so none of the balls... Dry Slide hasn't touched him yet. He does this gearbox, so there's a tiny little quick view hidden inside this with the Benedict Harry. I also, I would love to Velcro these so they tuck to the sides like that, because then I think we can all but eliminate noise. I think I need to, there's already holes. I think we need to build some vertical pieces that come up to maybe about this line, and then we can Velcro those down. Maybe out of aluminum. We'll see. We gotta test drive this thing. What if he's terrible? Like, we don't know. I don't think he's gonna be terrible. We'll do a little bit of of what we would run a tire quick view through. We do the usual stuff because my brain is really attuned to that testing protocol. I can feel the congestion building up inside me. I hope I'm not honking like a goose out of my nose. One last complaint before we go out. If you have AR-44s, you can see that nut is perfectly flush with the end of the stub. Just a normal hex on there. In the rear, on the other hand, the stub that comes out of an AR-45, look, you can't even see. There has to be 10 millimeters of thread, maybe 12. What are they doing? How thick of a hex do they want you to run? You could run a 12 millimeter thick hex and still not bottom that thread out. But as I said, 9 3/4. I just lucked my way into that. So pretty happy. I thought if anything, the rear was going to come out a little more narrow with how much thread was showing, but no. It's just axial weirdness. So there's nothing to do except break our hopes and dreams, run this thing, see how it feels. Now, I had honestly not seen that transmission placement until like a few minutes ago. It was when I noticed that the back of the can is back past that point. And I think the back of that can should be even. Of course, it will change all of the link lengths. I will completely have to relink this. So, the handling is going to have to be pretty bad for me to go through that. It might just stay as it is. Oh, well, now I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous before, but I'm nervous now. All right, that's enough. That's enough of this. Let's do some of that. I am a creature of the habitat. So I began to do my drive back from the shop to the course, which is a thing that I always do. It's the inaugural performance of a vehicle because I can learn some things. I can really, you get it on brick. The floor of my workshop, my wood shop, is wood. The path back here is mostly brick. When you drive this on brick, you can really hear the scrabbling of the rear tires. So I hope that underdrive is around 20%. We will find out what it actually is. So I had fully set up the controller, and I thought, and here we have So when I set up an RC4, this button is taken because that's the cruise control button, and I use this for cruise control, except on four-wheel steers. So I have this button set up for the shifter for 2-speed because you got to have a 2-speed. And he is in low gear right now, and I was driving one-handed, as I have to, because I have to carry the thing that is holding the camera. So I was carrying that in the other hand, and I did basically this. So I'm driving along, and I go, oh, we'll put it in second. I put it in second, and then I just hit the cruise button. And away he went. So, the gear separation. There's some of that. You can J-turn. So this is second gear. This is high gear. And this is low gear. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the near perfect application of a 2-speed. People are like, oh, the weight of a 2-speed, the complexity of a 2. It's not, there's one fork and one more gear. Come on. Okay, hold on, dial it back. This is why I am a supporter of the 2-speed. Because, you know, like I said, we're doing a somewhat modified version of the tire quick view, so I can do whatever I want. So, well, let's structure it. So, you can be like, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da, low speed. So it's not about picking a motor that fits your gearing, it's the other way around. So you can rock a 1200 kV and go crazy slow, but also irresponsibly fast. Who doesn't want that? Look at this. Oh man. We need to check drag brake and stuff. We got to get to the real stuff. And as I said, Fusion 1200. Listen to that Scrabble. Do we have too much underdrive for what Canyon Trail's like? I don't think so. No, I don't think we do. I don't know. I don't know if he's deceptively light. The rear springing. Is the rear springing too heavy? The also did not put him anywhere near scales. So I have no idea what the weight bias is. Oh, the breakover though. Yeah, that mullet rear. Look at the amount of atmosphere between that. I apologize. Look at the amount of atmosphere between that rear pumpkin and the ground. Ordinarily, we're not like, oh yeah, portal, big old tutus. Well, I guess if you drive a Traxxas High Trail, you are. I'm trying to hear where most of the lug noise is coming from. I'm also trying to see if I can. Oh, you just got to give it a little more zazz. The inserts are honestly acting a little firm. So there's a potential lightness thing. Oh, first Lexan noise. Okay, I'm gonna go for the shuttle here. Shuttle there. Let's see, right here. Yeah. It's almost like the foams are too firm, which is wild. Now I do have options. I do have two options for this. I've been very lucky. Ratchet really took to the included inserts. They just act overly firm here. Like much too firm. I really want him on the 2.2s because Ratchet is on the 2.2s. But it's really looking like his ground clearance is so much. I mean, we can't use this as a judgment. He's been on rocks for 5 minutes. Oh, the drawbridge rises. I don't know. I don't feel like the front is too soft. See if we can get right over this. How's that turn in? Not bad. The wheelbase is right in that 328, 330 range. Because of the shorter rear uppers, the wheelbase is a little bit dynamic. It tucks the rear axle in a little bit. Oh, we got to do the straight brake over. Drag brake. Well, it's a Fusion. And there's a big split on that gearbox. There has to be a big split. It might be a bigger split than what comes in a TRX4 gearbox, because I'm not kidding. Full speed in low gear, I don't think it's 2 miles an hour. Top gear is cooking. That was wide open. I hit the trigger all the way to the back. Okay, straight over. Yeah. So in many well, the side hill will be the teller. Will it not? It will. The rear feels too stiff for me. But I think I'm learning a little bit. And part of that learning is certainly I want to say don't mess with it. That little raise right there, that would imply that the rear is too soft. Huh. We'll see right here. Yeah, good. Good transfer forward. Coming over this. Okay. That broken terrain stuff felt exceptional. I guess we at least hit in the territory. Like we're close. Let's see. Any removal of throttle and it just drops. Okay, yeah, right in there. You get to that extreme, the rear end acts a little too mashy, or does it? It does. Because that is not the rear link geometry that I wanted. Right there. That's anti-squat. I hope that you can see through, because the rear lower link is black and the rear upper link is silver. You can see that closed angle right there. And I don't want that angle that closed, because that closed angle is what's popping that wheel. So I don't think it is shock. I think it's link angle. And that's here's double. Well, am I in the bottom hole? I might just be able to move the rear uppers up a hole if it clears the 2-speed. Just yell at your screen what I don't want to admit. I need to move that skid forward and change the lengths of all the links. We need to move the skid forward because perhaps the disparity between front link length and rear link length is not big enough. We're not acting skid forward. The weight bias doesn't seem as forward biased as I would expect it to. At the same time, yeah, see that raise right there? I think we're over transferring. I also think simultaneously that the performance that I'm getting is, let's be honest about it, is above and beyond what I had anticipated. Like, this is far beyond acceptable. The handling of this is of Clank. I gotta stop calling it this. Clank is doing well. And I'm immediately into the mindset of how do we tune this? How do we tune that out of it? Because it's not that shock collapsing. That driver rear is not fully collapsed. So that's geometry that's pushing that tire into the air like that. Another one is, throw some money at it. The deluxe front knuckle weights for AR-44, which we've seen recently. 312 grams for the pair. And I think that's got to be double the weight that's on there right now. That might actually, well, that suspension angle looks pretty good. That might actually sort out the front end issues without suspension changes. But I don't just want to throw brass at it. I want to throw geometry at it. So I will definitely do that first. Ooh. Oh, you know what? Oh, this is that total available grip thing coming into play big time. As we're not seeing maxed out forward drive. Oh, here we go. As I would hope many of you would know, this little pull-up over this ledge here, most everybody hangs their pumpkin on it because that's the nature of it. It gets in between your wheelbase. So we get the front end over it. Well, we're definitely not hanging a pumpkin. That might be a little shot too wide right. Let's see if we can. Need that front end to drop. Right in there. This is another spot right here. Generally, your pumpkin is going to stick. Yeah, we have no mechanical there. I feel like, oh man, he's so close. Okay, it's not the tires. I think the canyon, and usually we'll get hung up on the Undertaker sign right here. I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's just not pushing enough weight to the front while ascending. I guess the spring's pretty close. Yeah, right there. I don't even know how loudly it hollers. This little shimmy, right? So I got right here, right there. That's about what the amount of traction we've lost. So the forward drive is not absolute. But man, a fire. It is. The compliance is good. Not nearly as angry as the Lexan would have been, I would have thought. And his overall stability is honestly really impressive. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I think it's that you combine a Gozer with 5.3 canyon trails and it just looks tall. Plus with that, he's climbing over a lot of atmosphere. He looks really high, but he does not drive high. There it is. That is what I was afraid of right there. That is the link geometry, and that is, I think, those short rear uppers. We will see coming into yellows, like right here, just perfectly planted. There it is. Yeah. We got to do it, man. We got to do it. It is a episode 2. Did I ever say that it came from the workbench? Oh, man. Steve is 20. Flonko 21. Jester 22, Skeeter 23, 24. He's definitely 24. Clank as it came from the workbench, volume 24. So this is volume 24, episode 1. Volume 24, episode 2 is going to be this again because this guy gets pulled apart all of his link lengths are going to get changed, because the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can physically, like, do holes line up. Did I just get, as I said, peppered with holes down that rail? Did I get the wrong holes? This thing, I feel. Let me roll it out here one more time. Let me try. Yeah, right there. Oy! Oy. I feel like that 10 or 12 millimeters of skid positioning is, in this case, everything. His compliance and stability until you get that cross load, like what we're in right now, but more cross loaded. When you get into that, it doesn't even wait for the shock to collapse or the foam to compress. That's why the foams act like they're being overly hard when I don't think they are. I think the front link length is too close to the rear link length. I'm not a fan. A rig has to be designed for symmetric front and rear ends. So I think this guy needs less link in the front, more link in the back. Not a lot. And I think most importantly, the rear uppers need to be closer to the lengths of the rear lowers. So, where are most things going to fail? At the limit. Would I even consider this to be failing at the limit? No. But I don't want to... Oh my God. See, pulling that ledge is not easy. I have to assume, if we could even see it, because one side, this is black and white. One side of the beast is full sun and the other side is full shadow. Pulling that lip, I have to assume, was the mullet, was the rear axle. This is like rethinking the geometry. That raise right there, is it just a matter of insufficient weight in the front, or am I right in thinking that I need to rethink the geometry? I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to step away from it for a day or two. Oh, that clearance is everything. And like right here, it definitely doesn't over-transfer on the descent. The suspension feels fantastic. The turning circle is very good. There is so much good going on here. And if it pulls this, there's that shutter. Yeah, I can see the front spinning faster than the rears in this situation. And there it... These lugs need some feather. So I don't mind scraping them away a little right here. Ordinarily, this wouldn't even be a spot that you could do this, because you can see the rock poking out from under his tuchus. You would just be banging your axle housing off of that rock. And it's not over raising here. Oh, it's agonizing how close this is. That passenger front, 5, 6, 7 inches off the ground, but it still feels on. Like he still feels down. Yeah. This one is, Clank is definitely going to the comments before he goes on the cutting room, before the surgeon gets a hold of him. So this is 3-wheel motion the whole way. There's a rollout coming. I can feel it. All right, let's try moving away from insanity. Let's jockey it around, because perhaps, he kind of gets a little shuttled. Yeah. I want to see this thing bump now. That clearance, he's there, but he's not. That clearance is really good. The tendency of the ends, the way the ends swap weight, I don't know what it is. I'm 99% sure that I've made no mention. We're gonna mentally shift gears here for a second. First, before we shift clutch in, out of gear, we're just coasting in neutral right now. This is perhaps the smoothest shifting 2-speed that I've encountered. When you try to shift under throttle, it's not great. There's no synchro on this bad boy. But when you shift, just sitting still, okay. Let me reframe. So if I'm right here, and I'm in low, I just push the button, high. If I'm in high, and I shift, I'm in low. Seamless. Now, if you're moving, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. It's been a little clankier up until just this moment right now. But luckily, I'm using switch D. I'm using the lower switch. So with my monkey paws, it's a little tough to shift and drive at the same time. So he's a guy where, what am I in? Low? Okay. So I'm in high. You get to your obstacle. Boom. You put it in low. And then you go. Yeah. Once we get this flippy floppiness sorted out, he might be the breakover king. Because I'm not sure, well, let me see, get an angle here. I don't know if the ecto bumper even sticks out past the front tires. Let's just go dummy dumb. We'll go straight into, nobody goes up this. Ooh, and you will note, has he lifted driver front yet once? Or is it just passenger front? So I still think it's geometry. We've got some link length weirdness, which is giving us some cross weight weirdness. Now we should be able to get further left right here. Yeah, there's advantages. There are definitely advantages here. It's kind of guesswork for me. I don't know how to deal with straight front portal rear together. And thank goodness for the donation of that Victor 1 whiskey chassis, because I guarantee you, I can tell you right here, 100%, I'm not sure of a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, but I am absolutely certain of one thing. If I had cut a chassis based on what I know, what I think I know about chassis, oh man, would it have not worked. We would be in there's that tire up. We would be in a completely different place right now. I just blinded myself. Okay, see the descent here. Had to put a little pepper on it. Does he need more weight? Is that what it is? Does he need more unsprung? There is, like I say, those knuckle weights are the cheap Injora ones. I want to say are they 76 grams? No, that's heavier than they are. Yeah. Okay, I think these are 98 grams for the pair. The deluxe are about $50. I think this guy's worth $50. $312 for the pair. 200 more grams on the front axle. How much does that fix? And you know what? Ordinarily we turn around on the rock, but this guy doesn't have to do that. Turning circle is real nice. His approach and departures are fantastic. Minimal, but he loves to poke that tire into the air. Is somebody going to yell D's bands? But here's the problem. I think the D's bands work really well on Blue Sky High, and they will not be leaving Blue Sky High. A set of D's bands is $40, and a set of deluxe 312 gram brass is $50. I'm that guy that feels like I'd be getting more for my money with giant slabs of brass. He only lifts the one tire. So is it just when, oh, it's that slider is stuck. Is it just weight? Is it weight and geometry, but is it more one than the other? Is it more that it needs more weight or more that it needs a change in geometry? I feel like I'm slightly out of my depth and that I can't, I might be too close to the problem. Yeah, I forget. It's a mullet. So ordinarily you got to go for the left. He doesn't need to go for the left. He just goes straight over it because the rear end will clear. I kind of like his angry old ship noises. And I'm just fully going on record saying that a 2-speed is a must for the way I built this. I don't think it's a must for every mullet build, but I think it's a must for the way I built this guy. I don't think there's that. Why would it raise there? Was I too far over? It is peculiar. I'm leaning, I'm honestly, and not because I'm trying to be lazy, but I'm leaning towards insufficient axle weight. Right there and right there. I think, honestly, I think the 9 3/4, the 250-ish width, I think is pretty close. I'm going to just keep throwing questions out here. What do we think about 8 millimeters wider? 8 millimeters wider. If I go from 14s to 18s, is this a compromise? I think even if link lengths get changed, even if we decide to move the skid. So as I said, I'm going to step back. We're going to leave it a couple days. I'm going to absorb the comments. I'm going to think about it. And then we'll proceed from there. Is he going to lift? No. Oh! He had that. What happened there? There's that lift. Can we put it back down? Man, this is genuine. Okay. They talk about good problems to have. This is infuriating because it's not glimmers of brilliance. It's just objective brilliance. Like, there are times when this does exactly what I want it to do. And then it will come into a situation where I've hit that line before and I feel like I know the line and it does whatever it wants to do. So straight in, whoop. Let's get to the steeper. Whoop. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything that he can stick face on. So what's the forward drive look like here? Are we going to get a little stutter shudder? That's the steepest part. We're getting towards the easier part. Okay, the tires definitely need to feather in a little bit. Are the inserts behaving too firm? Like, someone has suggested in the past, use the Traxxas inner, but put reticulated polyethylene, put fridge foam inside in place of the outer foam. The outer foam is really soft. So maybe cutting the inner down and putting, say, 3 wraps of fridge wrap around the outside, I don't know. There's option. And my tendency is, as I'm sure you have all noticed by this point, my tendency is to make all the changes at once and then never know what worked. He's a real odd bumper. Because, as I said, that's full speed in first gear. And there's a belt drive in there. Imagine, if you will, if you took that belt drive out and put in spur and pinion, because the ratio in a belt drive is typically 2.6 to 1, which is a very low ratio or high ratio. Whichever one makes the vehicle go faster, it's that. It's a very fast ratio. Spur and pinion is 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. We could cut this guy's speed in half, which means you could easily put like a 2500 in there, which would be more torque. The bump, though, mullet bump. I don't know if you can hop it. I don't think you can. I think I saw one tire get about half an inch off the ground. I also, even sitting on those tires, I don't feel like his CG is very high. It's definitely not high for what he is. It is, at least on one level though, infuriating, because it isn't even just about potential. It's good. Look at him. Little slide back. So he's a lifter. He will lift passenger front. Is it just weight? Is it just weight? I don't like to just go to be like, oh, throw brass at it. But the performance is on a level that I feel like, yes, there will be tuning, but he only lifts that one tire. I mean, is that it? I'm trying to get into a situation where I can lift the driver front, but it doesn't. How about right here? I mean, look how steep that is. We are ghost riding the crap out of this guy today. I mean, right there. Would the additional weight just hold that down? I think so. He's so quick to throw that passenger front into the air. And ordinarily, I know why. Rear's too squish. This rear is not too squish. I can see that neither of those rear shocks are compressed all the way. And yet still he's three-wheeling. And just 3 wheels more. Oh, guys, I gotta stop rolling this thing. I'm gonna have to do the thing where I put mask on top of the mask so I don't paint the body from both sides at once. It's also only the passenger front is the problem. That's the only tire that appears to rub. The body appears centered. I'm pretty sure I got my link lengths the same, so I don't have the front end skewed to one side. I don't know what it is. Yeah, he can get the low. Let's see how low can we go low. So ordinarily, for whatever reason, lack of mechanical advantage, what have you, there's a certain number. You get your display. If you're running an RC4, there's a display on the top, and you can see from a range of 0 to 100 how much input you have on a specific channel. And usually, when you're dialing something in, like if you're dialing in a trim to like do this, to where like I'm not doing anything. I can't hold that kind of throttle position. I'm a person. So this is at plus 13. So 13%. Which means the deadband on this thing is next to nothing. And we'll ramp. We'll give a little ramp. Ramping. now I can use a hand to try to... So this is cruise control climbing. So, before I'm here all day, realizing that I've completely driven out of frame, who here thinks that the biggest problem facing this gentleman, and by extension, us as a group, who I assume want to see good things happen, who thinks that much, and if not much, then potentially all of the problem could be solved by just hucking brass at it? Once I saw those big deluxe knuckle weights, I was like, could it do it? Should I? Okay. As a gentleman with a predilection towards making all the changes at once, let's get a turning circle look here. Boop. I mean, it's tight. Underdrive helps. You can hear that of it scrubbing out. Also, steer angle mechanically limited. The front tires hit the shocks. They hit the shocks really badly on bench, which is why it went to the SE springs. I had to go to the skinniest shock I could do. A GTS with a SE or DriveTech spring on it was the skinniest thing I could think of. So, as a continuing a thought, incomplete. As a gentleman who is prone to just making all the changes at once, who here thinks it wise to put some big deluxe chunky brass on there first and then go into the geometry? Because we kind of learned from Diablo that you can't, or at least we haven't found it yet, you can't get to a point of, oh, that axle's too heavy now everything's ruined. We're not making an effort to build any sort of a flyweight. He's too big, he's got a full body, he's got 2.2s. Like, right, we're doing a thing. We're building a dude. We've built Clank. This is Clank. Clank has tuning that need be done. He's got a fantastic gearbox. I think the AR44, AR45 combo is wonderful. It is perhaps reawakened in me a positive feeling I didn't know I had for the AR45, which I have said is one of my, if not my least favorite crawler axle, discounting Red Cat Everest Gen 7. Like, that's not even an axle. He's a dust maker. It is infuriating. What a problem to have. He is both so promising. I think he looks so good. I'm definitely coming around on the Gozer even more. I like a Gozer, but I think the Gozer needs a big tire. Look how good he looks on those big tires. So I'm going to leave it to you guys. There are some of y'all that will drop it in there and be like, try this and this. And you know what? Sometimes, and more often than not, all the time, that's what I need. I need the outside perspective. Luckily, Spare Time Hobbies, by way of Shaker MT, platinum supporter of the Canyon, made the work of this a lot lighter. That lift, that leg lift, though, that's what we need to tune out. The rest of the performance of it is pretty great. Is it just that the front axle needs to be heavier? Let me know in the comments below. I'm ordering those. Those deluxe will be ordered before this video is live. But they won't be installed, and I will not have made any changes. He's going to go up on a bench, and I'm going to work on other stuff. Know what I'm saying? So, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together as a group. I'm going to crowdsource suspension tuning to you good people. And before I do that, and while I'm doing that, and as I've done that, I'd like to thank you all for very much for watching. I invite you to tune in for whatever we have next. I invite you to like and subscribe if you have not. As again, please do comment below. Consider a channel membership. Consider getting yourself a Crawler Canyon t-shirt. I make $2 each. We will absolutely see you in the next one. we hope that between now and the next one, you one and all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We got builds coming, baby. Builds. Builds on builds on builds. And we will see you for those builds. Thanks for stopping by. Clank. Power it out. Oh, wait. We'll do the cruise control drag start power it out. Clank. Power it out.